Sam, thanks for coming in today to talk to us. I wanted to ask you if you'd state your full name and where you were born.
Okay, my full name is Samuel Taub. S-A-M-U-E-L. Samuel. T-A-U-B. I was born in Hust, Czechoslovakia. It's on the Russian border between Russia and Czechoslovakia. I was 3 years old when my parents moved away from there into Satmar, Németi. It's S-A-T-M-A-R, Satmar. N-E-M-E-T-I, Németi, spelled. It's called Transylvania before Second World War II, even now. It's the city is a population about 65,000. That city lived by 30,000 Jews. Was more than 50%, or at least 50-50, like New York, you can imagine. Most of the Gentiles spoke Jewish, they know about Jewish heritage, it was not an uncommon thing. And I come from a very extremely religious background. My father was in the grain business, like a grain elevator, not a small one, and bought some grain from the farmers and hide and grain. My education started when I was 4 years old to the full day school, like in here kindergarten, and from there on. About 6-7 years old, I used to get up 5 o'clock in the morning. They used to wake me up. And I had to walk about 3 kilometers, about 2 miles. There comes very hard, strong winters, where I come from, a lot of mountains around there. And I used to walk with a cane, got bitten by dogs, you know what I mean? I used to, from 5 till 7:30, we studied the Talmud and Chumash, this is the daily, the weekly events, like the Seder, you know what I mean? I don't know if you know what that is. And 7:30, we used to pray the morning services. My father, let him rest in peace, he used to come. And after the services, he took me home. We ate breakfast and I come back and study till about 1. And from 1 till 2 till 2:30 was lunch. I went back to school and studied till about 5:30 till the evening services. And in the winter time, after the one home and ate supper, used to study at home another couple of hours. In the summertime was so late, was no time, so we just went to bed around 10 o'clock. I had 3 tests a week, Monday and Thursday and Saturday. My teacher was very strict. My father, Saturday morning, we used to go to the mikvahs, like, you know what I mean, like to take like the health spa. And before the morning services, it's like you take a shower, you know what I mean, you swim there and so on. And we used to pray till by noon, go home and eat, and after the meal, we used to sit down, and I had to tell him what I studied all week. He was a very strict man. And I better come up with the answers. There was no monkey business there. It was tough, but it was good. Very good. This kept me alive. I'm here today. If I wouldn't have that education background, I wouldn't be here. And we didn't have a lot materialistic things, but we were very happy people. My father, I know one thing, when Hitler, they deported him, my family, he was 54 years old, and he never been to a doctor in his life. That's what he told me. Now I'm going to go back. Like the age, I didn't give you my age. I was born 1923. I'm 65 years. I was 65 this month, the 6th. The 6th, 1923, I was born. I will never forget that my father came to the United States when he was still a young man. He was not married. And he looked around here, and my grandfather called him back because it was not religious enough for him in here in that time. So we are average height people in Europe, and I will never forget at the meals he used to tell us about America, about the experience, you know, what he had here. Very tall people, and I just looked at him, you know what I mean? I couldn't believe that why he's taller than me, you know, as a child, as a kid. But it was some experience, you know what I mean? What he told us, you know, about the work here. It was a different life than we had over there. Over there was more relaxed. And care for each other, more a closer family life in that time. So in 1939, I was 16 years old when the war broke out.
Sam, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Before the war broke out
yeah.
in Czechoslovakia, was there, you said that the city you lived in...
Not in Czechoslovakia. I was born in Czechoslovakia, but I was raised in Transylvania.
Okay, well in Transylvania you said that the population was about 50% Jewish.
Yes.
Was there much anti-Semitism, or was it pretty good because there was such a large amount of Jewish population?
Well, it was, you know what I mean, little anti-Semitism. It was anti-Semitism, but not much. Because you see what it is, it was all, you know what I mean, but you know, like we talk like Jesus Christ, you know the story, you know what I mean, we killed him and so on. Like the school where I went to, the public school, I had a lot of fights with kids because we were in that particular school, maybe 15 kids, and was about 45, 50 kids. 3-1 was non-Jewish against Jews. And we had some fights because they ganged up on us, and we organized ourselves, you know, we fought back. And it was on an uneven basis. It was a little anti-Semitism, but not strong.
What about the government itself in Transylvania? Was there anything like the Hitler government? Or?
No. The government in that time was Horthy Miklos. He was from, you see, Transylvania changed hands in the last 50 years before Second World War, about 4 or 5 times. One time was Romania, the other time was Hungary. And you see that Horthy Miklos, he was like the president of Hungary. what we were Hungary before Second World War. And now it's Romania. In Second World War, the Russians took it and they gave it to the Romanians. So he was not a good friend for the Jewish people, the president, because we had that problem too, you know what I mean, like within universities just a number of students could enter in government positions, you know what I mean. They were holding down the Jewish people, you know what I mean, not to enter in. And they were saying the Jews are the business people and so on, like always, plain jealousy.
So there was discrimination.
It was discrimination, absolutely.
And then you said then Hitler...
But not like Hitler.
Right.
Hitler, he was just exterminating our people.
Right. Well, when Hitler rose to power in Germany, did the government in Transylvania become more anti-Semitic?
Yes.
More vocal?
Absolutely. Especially the Hungarians. The Romanians, they didn't care. You see my point? But the Hungarian Nazis, they did the dirty work for the Germans. The Germans, they told them what to do. It's like the Godfather. He gets the order out. We used to call them the white gloves. You know what I mean? They never want to do anything with their hands. But they had, like, in every country, wherever they went in, you see, they came in to us in 1941. The war broke out in Poland was first to exterminate the Polish Jews in 1939. And the Polish Jews, they ran away from Poland into our territory. And they told us what's going on. But it's come so fast, you know, when you live there, like my father, since he could be around, not now, you know, because of his age, but he could save himself. We had some farmers. They were our customers. We deal with them, you know. We were living, you know what I mean, from the business we did with them. They lived from us, you know what I mean. And they told my father, my mother, they will put them away somewhere in the farm, you know, way out in the country. The Germans will never find them. But he had to cut down his beard. He had a long beard till up here because of his religious belief. And he just didn't want to. He said, whatever God is going to decide is what he wants to go along with. And it was a terrible thing.
Now, who asked him to cut his beard? And they were going to...
You see, to go out to be saved, you know, the Jews have beards, they're religious people. Mm-hmm. It was some fight. Soon as the Germans came in 1941, they started actually in 1939 already, beating Jews up in the streets. And I was the youngest home, and I was always with my father. And like going to the synagogue in the evenings, hoodlums, you know what I mean, come and start pulling his beard. And I always carried big stones. I was young, you know what I mean, sharp stones. And I was a fighter. I was like tough, like nails. And I had some big fights with him. And they used to run away, not to catch us. It was a very big problem.
So people who were sympathetic to your father, who wanted him to be able to be saved, told him if he cut his beard and moved to the country, he would be safer.
That's right, but he didn't want to do it. He wanted to leave it as is. Whatever God decides, this way is going to happen. So they put us in a ghetto in 1941. Before the ghetto, they picked up the young kids, like myself. I was 16 years old. my mother, let her rest in peace, she took me down. It was a city maybe about 15,000 population. It's called Nagybánya. It's meant in Hungarian and English, big mining town. Was all mining around there. And there was like, you know what I mean, like not a concentration camp, but there was the headquarters for, they told us they're gonna put us to work, send us to Germany, we're gonna work there, and all we have to go in there till a certain age, like from 15, the Jews and up. I was 16, my mother, I never saw my father crying. He was a very strong individual. And when my mother took me to this town on the train, before, he cried like a baby and he said, I know you're going to survive. I have faith in you, and you will. I will never forget that as long as I live. Yeah, and
So you were going off to the work camp. They were going to
Yeah.
send you on the train, and your father was talking to you then, and he
Yeah.
was staying behind with your mother.
yeah. My mother came with me. It was about, like I said, about 15 kilometers from my hometown, 20 kilometers. About 20 kilometers, about 12, 15 miles. And there was some wire fences. She brought me in, and right away, you know, the guards, you know, took me away because she cried and I cried, you know. And that was the last time.
That was the last time you saw your parents, your mother and your father.
Had you heard anything about where they went or what happened to them?
Excuse me a minute.
It's okay.
So, they gave it a Morgan David star in a yellow band. And it was a work camp. They put on our shoulder some bags with stone. And we used to have to run with this. And the guards with big sticks.
If you need a Kleenex, there's some Kleenex over there.
They beat us up. A lot of my friends, they didn't make it.
So even if you were doing the job you were supposed to do, they would still just hit you and...
We have to get up 5 o'clock in the morning. And like soldiers, you know, marching. And them stones on their back running. You know what I mean? And a lot of them kids, they just fell down. They fell down. They just took them on the side. They beat them first. They put them back, and after 2-3 times, they just shot them right there in front of us.
Was there anyone there from your hometown that you knew well, or did you just meet other people?
Oh yeah, we were there. A lot of my friends. But I was born and raised there. Excuse me a minute. So, he did this there for about 3 weeks. After that, they told us they're going to take us to Germany to work there. We were not used to that kind of beatings, and very bad mistreated us. Like when they give us the food there, little soup there and bread, whatever, guy didn't feel like he took that big spoon, how you just hit over the head, they pushed us around, spit on us, like dirt.
What did you feel like being treated like a prisoner when you hadn't done anything wrong?
See, that's the reason, I couldn't know what that is.
You didn't really have time to think about it, just had to,
Yeah. So you had to be strong, and to take it. And a lot of my friends, they were not strong enough. So what happened is, they put us on after 3 weeks being in that camp. They took us out to the railroad and they put us in boxcars. It was in May of that year. It was 1941. And when the train stopped, they brought us in to eat. They told us they are taking us to Budapest, what was the capital city of Hungary, and from there to Vienna, and from Vienna to Munich, Germany. But in Munich was Dachau, was the concentration camp. I'm sure you heard of it. So somehow, when they brought us out, they opened up the door there. I sneaked out and I ran away. After about 4 days traveling. We traveled maybe 2 hours and the train stopped, for 4 or 5 hours there, and we were locked up. You know what I mean? And I sneaked out and I ran away.
Where were you when that happened?
I was still under Hungarian territory.
Do you think anyone saw you or knew what happened, or
Well, I took the chance. I just
ran?
ran away, and in the woods, you know what I mean? And
Did anyone else go with you?
no, I was by myself. I had 2 friends of mine we talked about, but they didn't have the guts. And I was thinking, you know what I mean? I see what's going on in here, and I don't want to die. I'm going to live. This was on my mind every minute of the day, and this kept me alive. And I'm going to tell you about my own brother, what happened later on. I had 1 sister and 2 brothers. My sister is in Israel now. And she was deported to Auschwitz. She was in Auschwitz. My 2 brothers went in the war camps like I went in. I was the youngest home. My oldest brother, I never heard of him. What happened to him? My second brother, I'm going to get in later on to tell you what happened, but I have to come up till that time, you know what I mean? After I ran away in the woods, I finally made it in to Budapest. This is the capital city, because I know in a big city you have a bigger chance to survive. It wasn't that time maybe 1 million, 1.5 million population. What is today about 3 million at least. We were there 2 years ago. I made contact with to buy some papers. I had a little short jacket, and my jacket I had in that time about 300 penguins, like $300. I had it in the lining sewed in case, you know what I mean? I had it when my father, my mother gave me that when I went in that war camp. And I had that money. So first of all, I didn't have any paper because they took all the papers away, you know, when we supposed to go to Germany. No papers, nothing. I went in Budapest and I find out there I speak fluently Hungarian. And where the Jewish are congregating, where you can buy papers on the black market. So I bought myself for 60 penguins, like $60, some papers, non-Jewish papers, Gentile papers. A person who was dead already, you know what I mean? And made in that time we had to have a photograph, you know, with a little like a passbook here. I had it all, the age, my age, everything, you know what I mean? And my hometown too. But my name was Kovács Imre. This is a real Hungarian name, 100%. And I speak the language. And this helped me out a lot. It was very big hunger in that time. What happened is they had a shortage of flour, bread. People stayed in line like here in the Depression. And people stayed in line. The war was on already. The Germans confiscated everything, you know. Hungary in that part was one of the most fertile land, like here in Iowa, you know what I mean, in Europe. And they took everything away to Germany, whatever, you know, they are the rulers. You have to do whatever, you know. And with some bread lines, with some cards, bread cards. They give you so much, you know, for a day or for a week. People stayed in line between 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning to get into the bakery, to get his portion, you know what I mean, is. What I made contact is, me and 3 friends organized in a basement. We had a little printing there, machine, by hand. We printed the cards. My 2 friends, they were inside and I went out, I was the salesman. What I did is I sold it to the bakeries. And the bakeries turned that in to the government to get flour for it. It was like a black market. This way they sold 50% for the people and 50% was on the black market because they covered themselves, you know. We printed the cards exactly. And I made a lot of money. I made so much money I didn't know what to do. So
Did you meet these 2 friends when you got there, or had
Yeah.
you known them before? You just caught. How did you meet them?
we just met there. They were the same position. One was from Poland and one was from my area, but I never met them before.
Where did you stay? Were you just walking down in the streets trying to find some way to make a living?
Well, when I got in, you know what I mean, in the beginning, I was sleeping outside. It was warm. I was lucky, you know what I mean? Under big weeds, and the weeds, you know, maybe about 4 or 5 kilometers in before the city, not to catch me. After I made my contact, I went in, and I started getting organized. Then I went in to a guy who owned a big building. He was like a maintenance man. I told him I'm looking for work. And I need very little money. All what I need is just food to support myself. An old guy, mixed. You see, in Budapest is like in New York, all high rises, you know, everything tall buildings. And this guy, he liked me. I start cleaning up there, you know what I mean, and taking out the trash. In the meantime, I made contact with my friends, you know what I mean, buying the paper slowly. I built myself up. And we had that printing there in the same basement where you see over there is like this. You go in one basement and they have them wooden fences. You cut that through and you can end up maybe 5 miles in others, you know, going through. You know what I mean? It's all connected, most of it together. Or 2-3 kilometers. So it was very good hiding place. I always figured out in case something happened, the Nazis come after me, then I had myself, you know, little map, you know, figured out where I'm going to go and so on. Always thinking before in advance what is going to happen next, and always being on alert. So what happened is, I made a lot of money there. I stayed there, I worked there. This man liked me, matter of fact, he had 2 daughters, he wanted me to marry his daughter. So it was a whole affair, you know what I mean? And I was not Jewish, you know, everybody knows already. And things started getting tough. And that time, in Budapest, they deported the Jews later than my hometown. My hometown was a ghetto. After I have to go back now. But I went in that working camp. About 4 weeks later, they put all the Jewish people in Satmar, in a certain territory, you know what I mean? With wire fences there, and with machine guns. And they brought them in like 15, 20 people living in a room, 10 people, you know what I mean? Very bad condition. I don't have to tell you, I bet you other people told you that too. And from there on, they put them on trains. The olders, you know, they killed the young ones, you know, they sent them to Auschwitz. They told them they're going to give them work there. And they gave them a shower, a piece of soap, you know what happened, and they just exterminated them. Now, I was looking for my brothers all that time. This was in May, June, around July, when I was on my feet in Budapest already, established. I had a little room there where I worked as a maintenance man. With the people, they liked me, you know, the lady cooked for me, you know what I mean? And I had a good life. But I find out the Nazis are lining up Jews every day and taking them away to Germany. I got contact with the underground, with the Chetniks. This was like the Viet Cong. We were in charge with blowing up bridges, you know, and knocking off, you know what I mean, big officers. And I was like a courier there because of my languages. I spoke Russian and Hungarian, and I taught in school German, Hebrew, Jewish, you know, all them, quite a few. And made contact with him, with the Chetniks, because I figured out I have to fight the Nazis. What they did to my family, I know that I was in contact with the underground, with the radio from London, Calais, France. We had some underground radios and listen, you know, what's going on with the Allies, you know what I mean, about bombing and about going on, and so on. And I find out what they are doing to the Jews at Auschwitz. Not too many people didn't know that because they told them they take them to work. So I went with the Chetniks. I made contact in Budapest. They picked me up. They took me to Zagreb, this is Yugoslavia. They put me in a camp, they beat me up unbelievable. And I was thinking I made a mistake. I thought they are my friend, we fight together. But they find out I'm Jewish, and was some anti-Semites there. You know what I mean?
Within the resistance?
Yes, in the resistance. Can you imagine that? So I saw what's going on there, and I ran away from there. I ran back to Budapest. I was there with them. A few missions I carried out, you know what I mean? I never blowed anybody away or what. But, you know, I was always working with my head, you know, like intelligence work for them. And I went back to Budapest and I decided I'm going in as a volunteer in the Hungarian army. Because I speak fluently the language, and I think they're the safest place for me to survive. Now, when I signed up, they took us in. You know, you have to undress yourself when you go in the army. And since I'm Jewish, you know what I mean, I had bris milah, you know what I mean, I had a problem. And over there, the Gentiles was not like here because of health purpose, you know what I mean, cut. Mm-hmm. Only the Jewish people. So, we stay in line there, and I have my clothes there, and I had always watched my little jacket. I had so much money in there, it was all packed, I didn't have where to carry it, it was all in the lining. And I had it in my hand, wrapped up. And I was thinking, now they're going to get me. And I have to go through there. There sits a committee there, 4 doctors, male nurses there, you know what I mean? This is short, they see it, and I'm finished. And I go through there. That one doctor says, I want to talk to you. I said, this is it. Takes me in. He said, take him in Hungarian room. Keep him there till I get through in here. I was thinking, that's it. It's all over now. I've been there about 4 hours, and he comes in and he says, Amchu, that man. I said, yeah. This means, are you Jewish? In Hebrew, it's Amchu. This means your people. And he said, don't worry, I take care of you. I thought, right when you were staying in line, I didn't want you to get in there. He was a captain in the Hungarian army. He was from Prague, a Jew, a doctor. And he was on the same basis as I am. I was very lucky, very fortunate. And he said, you're going to help me out. You're going to be more like my cleaning man, you know, like his shoes and his clothes. I said, I do anything you want. And I almost fainted when, you know what I mean, he told me that. And I said, you saved my life. He said, don't worry about it, he said. I know your background and the whole thing, he says. I'm going to do my best. You're going to survive, he says. I'm going to do everything I can. He says, this is my duty to help Jewish people. He was a very good-hearted man, and I was with him for about 8 months. I had life of Riley. I had to, you know, I was always behind him. I didn't have to go through that hard training in the army. You know what I mean? Because I'm the captain's right-hand man. I carried his clothes. You know, I lived like a king, you know. In the meantime, I had a black market I organized. And that time, you know, it was food shortage, so the trucks with food supposed to go out to the front. I organized, we sold it on the black market. And my captain, he got a part of the money, you know what I mean? I told him everything, we talked things over, bought some diamonds for it, you know what I mean, for it, and gold, and I did anything for him, you know what I mean? He was like my father to me. And what? And I had it very good. I thought it's got to be very, very tough because he said they start taking, you see, you go by ages. If you are here 6 months, you are trained, you go out to the front. I'm supposed to go out to the front. And he tried to protect me, but he could do just so much. So I told him like this, I said, look, you did what you could for me. I'm gonna go my way, that's it. He said, I tell you what, I have in here a captain from Hungary, from your town, from Satmar. This guy has 250 Jewish people. It's called Satmari Lego. Satmari Lego means in Hungarian like go and help people out who are in trouble. He said, I tell you what, I'm going to send you over there and you're going to be there. You can play any role you want, he said. I said, yes, I can play anything you want. Made contact, he got me, I had the paper, sent me over there, but you see there I was not dressed anymore in soldier clothes. I was dressed like in regular clothes. And my captain there, he knows the whole story about me. And I did the same thing for him, what I did for this guy.
Was this new captain Jewish too?
No, he was,
But he was still willing to help you.
yes. And he was from my hometown.
Do you think that's why? Because he was from your hometown, or he was just a nice man?
Well, he was a nice man, and he was from my hometown too. And about 50% of my friends, I was born and raised with them. Wasn't that? It's called a battalion. You know what I mean?
What's that, a section of the town?
No, no, no. Battalion means
Oh.
so many people in
Oh, a battalion. Of the service? in
of the service.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And I worked for him, with him. I did the same thing. And he liked money more than the other guy. And we made a lot of money. And I find out through friends of mine in that time, this was already in 42. We are talking, you know what I mean? Around February 42. My brother is in Budapest, my middle brother. I talked to a friend of mine, and he said he saw him. He was working in a beer brewery. And I talked to my captain, and I told him, I said I would like to bring him over if I can. And he said, sure, why not? Bring him over. I went out and I bought some papers on the black market. And I organized. He gave me one sergeant and one lieutenant. Put me in like a jeep and a car, little truck, you know, one ton. Took me down there and to see my brother. That was the biggest thing of my life, because it's nothing like your own flesh. And I had to wait till 5 o'clock till he came in from work. I had everything set for him. I needed that protection because if not, the Nazis, the Hungarian Nazis, would pick me up and would finish me up. But since, you know what I mean, he came with me, you know, I was protected. I had the papers in my pocket, and after 5 o'clock, I met him, and it was unbelievable. He cried and I cried. We talked for 2 hours. And I said to him, I tell you, I got everything taken care of. You come with me. We're going to make ourselves. I spoke in Hungarian with a lieutenant, and he wanted to help me out. You know what it's all about it. We put him on, and he comes and just take off. He had to jump maybe about 2 fences. We went in the main entry, but he couldn't get out. Like, you know how...
He didn't have the papers to get out with you? He had to jump?
Yes, he had to jump.
Now, when you saw him for the first time, did he have any news about your parents or your sister?
No, he didn't have nothing. He didn't know. I told him about it, what happened. He didn't know. Because I know it, because I was in contact with the underground all the way. And I told him, come with me. He didn't want to come. He was extremely religious. And he said, whatever God is going to want to do, that's it. I will never forget, as long as I live, he could be with me today. I told him, are we both going to die or we both going to live? I put my life, I said, come on. He didn't have the courage and the guts. Didn't want to jump. And we stayed there another hour. I talked to my friends, and I said, let's wait. And I went in back again, and I talked to him, and I said to him, they were not big fences when it's dark. You know what I mean? You see, there was not so protected, was not that many guards. It was just a couple guards at the main entrance. But we even figured out were we going to wait for him, pick him up, and everything. It was nothing. Very easy. And he didn't want to. Couldn't convince him. And Hitler killed him. Look. So I just want to tell you. Now, after there, I've been there, that was in 1943 already. Working there, we worked at the Donau. The Donau is the biggest river, one of the biggest rivers in Europe. I'm sure you heard about the Donau River. Mm-hmm. It's like the Mississippi here, you know. All of a sudden, it got a rumor. The Nazis had very bad times around Stalingrad. More beatings they got, more hard times they gave for the Jews. You know what I mean? To exterminate them faster. And I know everything what's going on. By Stalingrad there, they finished them off in that time, 43. The cold winter there, like Napoleon, what happened. We came in from work, we worked at boats, built bridges there in Budapest around their highways, you know, we fixed everything up. All of a sudden, the American, I know before they came out, is going to be bombed Budapest. We were out there working. I want to tell you what luck is. I believe in that more than anything else. Middle of the daytime, here comes here, and we look up in the air, and I look at them, nice, and I was happy as can be. My God, I was dancing, you know what I mean? They are bombing Budapest. And all of a sudden, I knocked myself down to the floor. 2 of my friends right there died. I had some of my legs here, still is some you know, little scratches, you know what I mean? Little piece of steel went in. And I couldn't believe it. I knocked myself down. I got up and they were dead. Right there, near me. 3 feet away, 2 feet away. What luck is. So I was thinking now it's getting closer, because when they start bombing, I was thinking maybe it's going to be an invasion after that. Usually comes. This was middle of 1943 already. I find out they want to take us to Germany to work, because they needed people there. See, more Germans they killed in Russia, more people they needed to do their work in factories in Germany. And I know everything was going on because I was still in contact through the Chetniks and through my connection with the underground. I heard some other working battalions, like people they took away already to Germany. And I took to myself, anything I'm going to do, I'm not going to Germany. I want to stay here. That's it. What happened is, about 2 weeks later, we came in from work. They called us in the office. My captain, he says, Sanyi is like Sam in Hungarian. He says, I don't have another choice. We're all going to have to go to Germany. You do whatever you want to. I tell you in advance. It was nice of him. He told me and 2 other guys, we gave the word like in prison, you know what I mean? What's going to happen? And you people who had guts ran away. People who didn't have guts, they just stayed there and they took them to Germany. And I was thinking they won't take me alive. Dead, yes, but not alive. I made contact with 2 of my friends, and we had organized there. I went back, you know what I mean, to my old place, Budapest. I said I feel comfortable here. It's a big city. I'm not going to a small city because you know everybody who it is, and they see a stranger, and they call the Nazis, and you are finished. That's what they did in that time. You know what I mean? Now I'm going back. Excuse me. The Hungarian people are not very good people. I have to admit that. I'm gonna jump back a little bit. When they had us, they took us out in the street, you know, like going to work, and the population was screaming and yelling, "You bad Jews, you don't deserve to live." The people from the sidewalks in Hungary, and they spit on us and throwing stones at us. And you should all be dead. You have everything. You took away from us because you see the Nazi propaganda, you know what I mean, worked on their minds. The Jews are, everything is the Jews' fault. They keep them as slaves. We are like the landlords or the barons, you know what I mean, and so on. This was the propaganda, the Nazi propaganda. And they were so dumb, I hate to say that, the people, the population, they believed them. And it made me feel so bad, you know what I mean? They don't even know who I am or who my friends are. We are innocent people. We never hurted anybody. But what can you do? You can do nothing. So I went back to my old place. And the old guy, what I was in the beginning, he was happy. My God, we had a big, why I left, I didn't tell him when I'm going to take off. You know what I mean? You never know. I didn't trust him. maybe he will turn me in. You never know. You see, you get in your mind, you know what I mean, all the time like this. Who's looking at you? Who's coming? Am I going to live? Am I going to die? That guy, is he going to arrest me? This is in your mind always. Fear, scared. It's going to stay with me all my life. So me and my two friends made him room there too. We were there, minding our business, doing a little business, and dealing in them cards back. We organized back again. And I was going in, we allowed in the movie houses. Because there, you know what I mean, you go in there 2-3 hours seeing the movies and you are not afraid, you know what I mean? It's dark, you know what I mean? And middle of the daytime we hanged out there. And I come out from one movie house, right on the main, it's like Broadway in New York, one of the big ones. And there come two Hungarian Nazis. They were in civilian clothes, and they said, "Come on, let's go." They put me in there. They took me up to the police station. They beat me. They gave me such a beating. They broke my head in. See, put your head in here. It's full with holes. My fingers, they were pulling doors on me and telling about the Nazis and about this and that. And interrogation. Big lamps in front of my face. It kills you, you know what I mean? Very strong. I said, I don't know from nothing. Somehow, I don't know how they find out I was with the Chetniks involved.
Let's take a break here, Sam, and we're going to change the tape because the tape only goes for an hour.
Oh, okay.
Then we'll get
Sure.
on at the end of the other tape, which was the...
No, but I want to ask you, I want to tell you.
Okay.
I ask questions, why, in my mind, why are we different than other people? Why should we go through that? Because I had all the information. The problem was this. They were misled. I was taught always, as a child, don't fight back. Don't fight. This was the problem. And I raised my kids different. If we would be taught to fight, at least we would kill 500,000 or 100,000 Nazis, taking their guns away and getting them, you know, what is coming to them. But we went in like lambs, just straight through. We were a people, you know what I mean? We didn't know what to do. We were raised, don't fight, don't hit. I was different, I tell you the truth, because I had some fights when I was in school with them kids. I told you maybe. I carried around stones. Was so many times 10, 12 ganged up on me and another guy, or by myself. And I was going around, you know, like crazy. I was fast, tough. But I had the confidence in me always in my mind, I'm going to survive, I won't die. And this kept me alive. I didn't give up. If you give up, that's it, it's all over.
That's
It
good
was
to
my
know
luck.
that what people were thinking, why a lot of people didn't fight back, so it was mainly the way they were raised. A lot of people were raised that way.
That's it.
Now,
That's
let's get back, though, to the story you were telling when the other tape ended, which is that you had been picked up by some plainclothes Nazis and we were being tortured and interrogated, and you didn't know how they knew about your activities with the underground, but somehow they knew. Someone may have
Yes.
told on you, or
They throwed me down there with killers with there, and rats there, in a basement there. You name it, was there, cockroaches, you know, like this. I was standing like this. I couldn't sit down because, you see, the rats and everything was so... And I came in the Hungarian Nazis, or I don't know what that was. they start getting on me, you know what I mean? And I was calm, I had a lot of nerves, and I took it. The next day, they tortured me for about 24 hours. 2 hours they took me up, beat me, and bringing water, throwing at me, and beating again my back, like 2x4s, you know, big pieces with sticks. And I still said, I don't know from nothing. They want me to turn in some big names. I don't know, I still can't figure it out how they find out, because but they were so connected together. What I think is, they caught the underground resistant group, some people, and they turned me in. Has to be. This was my imagination. Finally, they couldn't get nothing out of me. They picked me up, they took me in a big high-rise building near the train station in an afternoon. That was in 1944, already in the beginning of 44. Wait a minute, about the middle of 44. They picked me up, they took me in that high-rise. That time, they were taking the Jews to Auschwitz from Budapest. In Budapest lived about 500,000 people. No, not about 250, 300,000 Jewish people. In that house, it was maybe 25 stories, you know, tall. Was maybe 12, 15,000 people in that. We came in, we had to stay like this. Couldn't move around. You couldn't go to the toilet, nothing. You did right there on the spot, like herring. I looked around, my God, kids screaming and yelling there, ladies, you know what I mean, my God. I couldn't believe it. I was figuring out how can you get out of here. I couldn't get up to the 25th floor because they put me down on the 5th floor. I couldn't go up there because so many people were on the steps. Everywhere where you turned around was people. Just downstairs like a courthouse, you know what I mean? Was nobody. People were all in the rooms. I was thinking, I don't know what to do in here. If I could get up upstairs, I'd go up to the top of the roof and I just take off. But I couldn't get. Took me in about around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They come around, one handled out some bread to the other, little pieces of bread, and was like a cup like twice as big that and water, that's it. Stay there till following morning like this, standing. If I turned around, I pushed the other person around, like herring. What I find out there was the house where they took the people into the railroad. Was maybe about 4 blocks to the railroad station. What they do is they put them in boxcars like they did to all the Jews. They put them in like herring. They close the doors on them, no food, no nothing. Auschwitz, Dachau, Buchenwald, you know what I mean? All the concentration camps. And from there was like a transit camp where they put me in. The next morning, they said whoever they've been called up, on each, they had a Hungarian on each floor, was maybe 4 or 5 Hungarian Nazis watching us. And with a loudspeaker, they called up, like Kovács Imre, my name, I had to go down. And it was around 4 in the afternoon the following day. They called my name up. I come down here, there's like a committee, you know what I mean, sitting there. And they talk in Hungarian. He said, he's strong to me. Get him out of here. Put me in on one side. The other side, they had 2 sides, you know what I mean, where they put the old people separate, the young people separate. I supposed to go to Germany in a factory working, you know what I mean, the old people, they gas them out. I know what's going on, and here right away I picked it up. We stayed there for about 3 hours in line. They got us in together. They took with small little trucks there, a machine gun in the back. They put us up there. They take us out to the train station. I see a train there, a railroad, my God, maybe 50, 60 boxcars, screaming and yelling, voices, crying. When they took us off from the truck, I see there 2 empty buckets. When you went in front of the railroad, I mean the boxcars, was all machine guns, you know what I mean, all lined up, tanks there all around, surrounded, you know what I mean, on the corners there, and with loudspeakers, you know, and high towers, you know what I mean, to see everything. I see the 2 empty buckets, how I go to the train to go on. I pick this up and I walk away. Matter of a second, 2 seconds. I saw him laying there, go over there, walk out, you know how you go in line with the rest of the, you know, going to the boxcars, pick it up, go through the guards here with the buckets. Nobody says anything, and I walk out.
Right.
So after that, I know myself around there, around that area. I look back and forth. I tore my Mogen David, I had the yellow band on, tore it up, and I'm a free person. I was afraid to go back to my old place because, you see, in your mind you get scared. Maybe he turned me, and I was thinking, you never know, maybe they watch me over there. Who knows what they're gonna do to me? So I went in again to the Hungarian army as a volunteer. And they needed people in the front, and they had all kind of advertising. They give money and everything, and so on. I went in again. And this time I know already what to do. You know, I know my way around there. They didn't look me over because the Russians were pushed back already. It was the beginning of 1944. And they had that big loss in Stalingrad. They were picking up anybody from the street. They didn't even go through, you know, all that hocus pocus, you know, to send out to the front. They just gave them
They were desperate at that.
They were desperate, yes. And I was back in. And I was thinking, I still have this is my best chance to survive if I can. Things got so tough, the Russians pushed the Germans back. I was connected with the underground. They start bombing more and more stronger Budapest. I find out from a friend of mine, it's the Swedish consular. It's like an embassy. I don't know if you heard about him. He saved my life Mr. Wallenberg. And I was thinking there, I'm going to be on international territory. And soon as if I can just get in there, in that house, then I have a chance to survive. And they were already maybe about, that was around March of 84. No, I mean 44, you know, around that area. And I was thinking, a friend of mine told me, there's 7,000-8,000 people in that embassy. There's one thing, they respected the Germans. They didn't go in to take them out. Because that Mr. Wallenberg was a very strong person. He saved maybe 100,000 Jews. I know, I helped out there in that saving. I'm going to tell you that later.
Okay, I think we should wrap up now and come back and start with that story.